Welcome to Kansas City Business Cast. This is your host, Michael Reisinger. So we're in season 6 now. I can't believe saying that out loud. And up to this point, you all know my background by now, right? Like I've got a lot of HR, leadership coaching, process improvement, all that stuff. To date, I have not had an HR pro on the show. So I am so stoked, so honored to have Alicia McDougal on the show, the founder of Legacy Inspired HR Solutions. Alicia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So excited to have you here. We had a 10-minute session before we recorded, just geeking out about HR. Because there's parts of your story that are definitely documented out there. You've got a great website. You're on the socials. We know that. Our listeners, hopefully they'll all go down the rabbit hole after this conversation today. Look
Fingers
you
crossed.
up, start following. Yes, absolutely. But if you could, just in a word, tell us what you offer to small businesses, or maybe you could say who your niche is and what you do, and then we're going to just kind of unpack it from there.
Yeah, so I guess I would do 2 words. So strategic partnership would be the words that I would use. And then my target customers, or the people that I mainly work with, are small businesses. So people that have, usually it's 100 or fewer, but I've been asked if I would do the bigger companies. Yes, if a corporation needed help, or if it was larger than 100 people, I would definitely help them. But typically it's 100 or fewer employees, people that don't have dedicated HR staff, or they have somebody they've dedicated, but that person or people are overstretched. And so they need additional help. So, and whether you're a solopreneur looking to hire your first person, or whether you're established and been in business, I'm able to align with all of those.
Absolutely. And I think too, so this has been my experience working with small business owners as well, right? So I've done, contract HR services, helping everything from like writing a job description for their first role to figuring out their hiring process, who should interview and how should you hire and how should you do payroll. And for the small business owner, most of them, it's like, they had this dream or this passion. They're really good at it. And then there's this idea of making a company out of it. And then as they're adding human beings to it, they have no idea what they're doing unless they've got a background like yours, right?
Facts.
And so it's so hard sometimes to convince small business owners who are do-it-all, know-it-all personalities the value in bringing in a consultant and a coach to kind of come in and say, hey, here's what you need to think about. So what does the typical, you have intake calls, you get requests to kind of consult, work with people in all different sorts of sectors. What are some common themes that you're hearing from small business owners?
So this is overwhelming. I don't know where to start. Or I don't have any money to do this. Or I built my business plan and my business strategy, but I forgot to put people in it. Or, I've hired these people, but now I don't have time to train them. Right. So it's not just, so a lot of times I see where they can do the recruitment, but it's the onboarding. And what people don't realize is that you can get somebody there, and day 1, they'll go through their paperwork, they'll meet the team, so glad to be there. But if day 2 through 90 are not organized, they will leave because they feel like you're not.
2 through 90,
Yeah.
First 90 days.
Yeah, the first 90 days. And I would argue it might not even be that long, depending on the industry that you're in. But just the importance of like an onboarding plan. Doesn't have to be minute by minute, but like, what does their week 1 look like? What does their week 2 look like? If they're going to train with somebody, does that person that's training them know they're going to train them? And do they know what day they're supposed to train them on? Like just being organized. Again, it doesn't have to be minute by minute. It could be week 1, we're going to cover this. Week 2, you're going to cover this, because that way it allows the people that are training them to know what they should teach them, and the person that's being trained know what they should know by end of the week. And it creates, systematic or processing. So the importance of documenting processes, not only to make sure that you have them, but number 2, if somebody leaves abruptly, you're not SOL, right? You have it documented. That could be if somebody retires. That could be, unfortunately, if something, bad happens, somebody gets sick, somebody, for whatever reason has to leave. And it also makes it easier on the person training. Like you can show someone and train someone once, but you want to teach them how to fish. Give them a resource to go back to so they don't have to constantly come back to you. I'm a mom, and so I don't like getting asked the same question 12,000 times. Okay. I do not. So it's like, I'll show you once or twice. And then at that point, I'm going to give you a resource. Say, hey, you can refer back to this. And a lot of people want to be self-sufficient. They don't want to come ask you because they're afraid that they're going to look stupid, right? So give them a resource.
Mm,
So for me, it's just about taking some of those things off of the owner's plate or maybe even their right-hand person. Because usually if they have maybe 2 or 3 employees, there's like one person that's handling everything the owner is not, and they're also stressed out.
right.
And so it's like, how do you build proper systems and processes? How do you make sure your people are managed correctly? And then what is the intersectionality of those? And if you can do those three
Absolutely.
things, then your company will be successful.
Absolutely. And so, when I'm hearing you speak, and I know a little bit about your background too, right? You've got 10 plus years. Am I saying that
Oh, it's way
correctly?
more
10.
than that. It's like, so I
Okay.
calculated back. So this was when I first sent you my information. I was like, oh yeah. And then I went, wait, I forgot about all of that beforehand. So I'm rolling up to 19 and a half years ish.
Okay, there we go. So, yeah, and whether it's 10 now 19, right? You have been in the human resources profession for almost 2 decades, and you have seen all the trends. I'm sure you've been through audits, you've seen what good processes look like, you see what bad processes look like, and you've done this in giant corporate environments. Let me ask you this, why small businesses? That is a very unique niche. And so, what motivated you to kind of target, hey, I want to work with the small businesses? And as we know, we've kind of done little educations here before. We've had people from the SBDC on the show. People know that small business isn't necessarily 5 people, it
Right.
could be 1,000 people,
Right.
right? But why that niche, Alicia?
It
Very curious
actually
about that.
goes back to, so most of my career, I've been nicknamed people's HR lady, right? So like I had friends that when I was working in corporate America would call me, they're business owners, hey, I have an employee issue and I need your help because they didn't have an HR person. Or I would have people that were employees at other places, hey, this happened, I need your help. And then it was like they started referring other people to me. So then I would have random people I didn't know, like business owners or employees calling. And I'm like, hello, how can I help you? Sure. They're like, so and so told me to call you. Okay, let me
When
just,
they don't know who to call, they call you
yeah. And
too,
so for
right?
me, it was the notion of, in many cases, the people calling me needing help were either employees. Now, the employees are different because they kind of range the gambit. Some were corporate, some were small business, but the business owners were typically small business owners. And it's the notion of a corporation typically has an HR team. Good, bad, or otherwise, they have one. They have an HR team, they have a legal team of some sort, or at least a counsel in house. But small businesses don't, and so oftentimes it's harder for them if they don't know, right? And they find out what they don't know due to a costly mistake, it could be detrimental to the business. So for me, it was just the notion of wanting, I know it sounds cheesy, but wanting to see everybody win. Like I love small businesses. A lot of the places that I frequent are friends of mine that own small businesses because I understand that by me purchasing something, like that helps you pay your rent this month. That helps you put your kids in a AAU football team. That helps you, like, whatever it is, right? And that was before I owned my own business. That's just been me. I'm a relationship driven person. So for me, it was knowing that the impact monetarily obviously is great, but just impact wise to me, I feel like is better dealing or larger felt in a small business. Many of these small businesses are out in the community. They're not, as big. They're not the big major corporations that are funding everybody, but they're out making a difference. And for me, that's what it's about. I've always been huge in my community. And I say my community is the Kansas City area. I live on the Kansas side. I'm a Kansas girl. Feel with it how you want. My fiance is from Missouri, so I understand. It's beef always, right? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I say that to say I look at my community as the metro area because I have friends and family that are from all over. And so for me, it's just the notion of it's not only the impact felt from the small business, but it's the fact that they then pay that forward back into their community. That's how I live my life. So that's who I
Absolutely.
want to help.
And that resonates with me so much because that's why I started this podcast. Because I was having conversations with my clients
Yep.
who were local business owners,
Mhm.
and I was like, I should just start recording these conversations because guess what? I'm not only doing life with these people, my kids go to the same school that their kids. We go to the same movie theaters, we go to the same, restaurants. When they're sick, they go to the same hospitals. We might as well do business together
Yeah.
as well, right?
And
And
I'm
so it's
celebrating you when somebody has something. I went to the Casey Gift pitch competition and I knew the Casey Combine won second place. I was excited for them. I go there often. I know them. Like,
Yeah. Is
Alan
that
is Alan.
Alan Nealon?
I was like, I'm so
Yeah. I
excited for
love,
you. And I saw my other
hey,
friends pitch. Like I saw Inga
I
Company
love
pitch.
that
I
guy.
saw like, and so for me, it was,
Yep.
I'm in the audience fangirling out because these
Yeah.
are my friends. Right. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, as
Yeah.
somebody who's pitched, I understand how hard it is. And so I'm like, you did great.
Absolutely.
Like, and they're like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever,
Well,
lady.
next time you see Alan, tell him, and I'll tell him when I'm down there too. I still want to have him on the show. Him and I have talked about having him on KCBC,
Yeah.
so
Him and I
I
are,
got to get him on.
he leaned to me and said, I need some HR help. And I was like, I'm here whenever you're ready. I'm in there all the
It's so
time. You know
cool.
what I'm saying? I said, might as well,
I I absolutely love that place. And on that subject, right? So you talked about focusing on people that we're, doing life with in our community. The thing that I hear so often from my HR peers, right, especially with like the layoffs and all of the turnover that's happened, is HR folks don't know where to go. If, there's every company in the world is laying off their HR people. So often HR folks feel like they've got to be in a full-time job. They've got to have a full-time benefited role. And so you and I are very similar in the way that we got these skills and there was a light bulb where we said, why don't
literally,
I actually be the person? Why don't I get
literal light bulb.
paid not $28 an hour, not a salary of 60 to 80,000, which is the typical like HR generalist and recruiter and even business partners now I'm seeing there's, salaries are all over the block, but what was your like conversion moment? And we know too, you just graduated from Porterhouse KC cohort, right? The
Loved
last
it.
one. So like, I would love to hear about, for our listeners, because we've got quite a few HR people out there that listen to the show, what's your conversion story? Where'd you decide like, hey, I'm going to go out
So
and do this?
it's so funny that you say that. So I've been people's HR lady most of my career. And I remember distinctly this started
I love that, by the
probably,
way.
I'm going to say it was December of 2023. So I was at my friend's house. We were having a goal setting vision board party, just a few women that were throughout the community. We come together and setting goals for each part of our life, right? Not just business, not just family, but like talking through that and really getting achievable, like they were SMART goals, essentially. Like what can we actually achieve? Not just writing it on papers where it looks cute and putting it on a vision board and then you don't come back to it. Like what is actually things that we want to happen? And so my best friend of 25 years, and she might or might not watch this, shout out to Erica Taylor Murph. She is the owner of Community Impact Solutions. So she's about 6 months ahead of me in this entrepreneurial journey. And she points mad aggressively. If you can imagine someone that's been your best friend for 25 years, and she goes, you're going to start your business. And I was like, oh my God, like this is aggressive.
I feel attacked.
Ma'am, I'm like, what? And so she goes, you need to just stop playing and start your business like for real. Cause I've been, giving advice, but I didn't charge people because I didn't feel the need for it. Like I was working full time. I didn't care. It was just helping. And so she was like, stop playing around. She keeps pointing. And I'm like, why do you keep pointing at me so aggressively? Like, okay. And she was like, first quarter, I'm not playing with you. Form your LLC, get it started. And I was like, okay, can you stop pointing at me? And so I started it with the point of, I'll just go part-time because I was working at Kiewit. And that's our busy season is the spring as they hire on all of the interns and new grads. And it's like,
that's
a lot of people, right? And at the time I was the intern program manager. So my life was upside down, right? Just
that is not for the faint of heart.
It's a vacuum considering I was rolling into like my 1-year anniversary. So I came in the middle of the chaos in 2023. And this was the first time that I was seeing it in full cycle, but I was also over it. So I don't suggest being over a program that you've never seen. It's very stressful. It's very stressful.
Over it being like done, checked out.
No, like the person that is responsible for being the face of it. And
over it. Okay, sorry.
And you really don't know what it's supposed to look like. Like you're just out here.
Thank you for
I was the project manager of the intern program, yet I came in April of last year, which would have been the height of the chaos. So it's like I was managing something I hadn't seen. I knew theoretically what it looked like, but anyway. Right. So I start my business part-time. I'm like, I'll take a person a quarter. Not a big deal. Well, very quickly I had 3 clients. And so I was like, okay, well, it's the first quarter and I have 3 clients. How am I going to do this and work? Now, one of them, my very first client was the Bevel Grooming Lounge. Shout out to them, Casey Murph. As you can see, they're married. I've known both of them for a long time. I was so happy when they got together. It made my heart warm. He was turning his single studio into a full barbershop. So if you imagine one like solopreneur going to like 10 people. And he was like,
Wow.
I don't know anything about HR. Can you please just do this? And I was like, sure, put me in, coach. That's what I signed up for. So got all that running. And then I had some other people that came, just needed kind of smaller. Hey, can you write a handbook? Hey, can you do some things like that? So it was as I'm standing up the pieces of the Bevel Grooming Lounge, like I'm literally writing their handbook. I'm doing the onboarding of their folks. I'm doing like all of the HR things, right? I was sitting at work at Kiewit one day, stressed because we're hiring 5,000 people. And the light bulb goes off and it says, you know, this doesn't fill my cup. I'm being stressed out about something that doesn't fill my cup. Now I can love the people I work with. I loved the people that I worked with. Kiewit, HR, amazing folks. Do not regret working there. My boss was amazing. My coworkers were amazing. The team that I managed, I had 2 people in Mexico, 2 people in Canada, 2 people in Mexico, and a person in Houston. Amazing people, right? Loved the relationships that I got. Learned a whole lot about project management, but it was just too big of a beast for me personally at this point in my life. And I wanted to step back and really dig in and help multiple people instead of being just in one engine. And so at that point, it was like, as I'm still receiving the random one-off calls of, hey, can you help me? It's, yeah. And that's what I want to do. So I went home to my husband, or my soon-to-be husband. We get married on June 26th. And I went, thank you. I went, hey, babe, so I'd like to quit my job. How you feel about that? And I expected him to freak out because he's much more, I'm not the risky person. I'm pretty risk averse. So I expected him to be like, are you okay? Like what? Like what's happening?
Right.
And so he turns to me and he goes, sure, that's what you want to do. And I went, okay, wait, you get one more chance. Are you sure? And he was like, yeah.
I love that.
Because I was like, what you're not going to do is hold this over my head in 2 months when I don't have any money. Because I have a nest egg, but being an entrepreneur, you don't always bring money right in, right?
No,
and so I was like,
absolutely,
I'm going to be able to pay my part of the bills and we'll be fine because I have a nest egg and I'm very fiscally responsible, right? But I was like, if this doesn't work out, I need you to still love me, right?
Right.
And so he was like, yeah, I mean, that's what's going to make you happy. He's like, I feel like it's going to, that's your passion. So do it. Now he's a creative, he's a chef. So for him, he was like, you have to do what you love. If you don't, why would you do it? Right. That's what we tell our kids all the time. And so that was my conversion moment. I was like, okay, so now that was like July, like probably right after so it kind of spanned. It started December 2023, throughout the spring of 2024. Yeah, and it kind of just grew.
Flowers are coming out.
And then by July, I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I need to do. And it got to the point because again, I love the people, but I could also know that this wasn't for me. And because it wasn't for me, I wasn't going to give my 110%. I don't know how else to live than give everything I got.
Absolutely.
And so I took a leap and, do not regret the decision. And hopefully I'd never have to return to corporate America. Like I said, I will do fractional work. Obviously, if a corporation needed help, I would come in and consult. That's not a problem. But absolutely. I love the freedom that it gives. I love the ability to attend things at my kids' school without having to take PTO. I love the fact that I can go volunteer in my community. I can attend conferences. I can meet with clients, impromptu. I can, things like this. So it's the scheduling and the ability to be more present for all the things that matter in my life is probably the biggest thing for me. And I want the same for small businesses, which is why, because I know what it's like, right? I know.
Yeah.
And so if I can take off your HR off your plate and help you be like, I would still let you know what's happening. I'm not going to just take it and do, and you're not going to know, you're still going to be able to answer questions and know what's going on, but you're not going to have to stress over it anymore. And to me, that's important. It gives you time back, which small business owners don't always have.
That's right. You just so many moments there as you're talking about your story. I hope that pulls on all the heartstrings of our folks out there. There are so many people right now that are in roles that they're really good at, but they don't feel like they're a fit for maybe the ecosystem, or they want more variety, or they want flexibility like yourself, and they don't know what to do next because for so many reasons. But, you know, we don't learn about this growing up in school. We are not taught how to start our own businesses. We are taught basically, I know this is kind of a negative view because there's plenty of good things we get in school, but we're taught how to conform, right? And, you know, when you go through a college program, you are given tools and insights to be really good at conforming, right? And the workplace has a way of taking like free spirits and people that are like want to be entrepreneurial and kind of like squeezing that out of them, right? Like, you know, and organizations don't necessarily reward that type of stuff. And
Correct.
so what was your journey like? Did you have to shed like trauma or baggage to like, you know, become like your own business? And we've talked about like visibility and marketing yourself. And, you know, you seem
Yeah.
like a very humble person too. And so sometimes I know too, like actually bragging about what you do and the value you do kind of feels like it's like, ooh, you know, I don't like the way that feels.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a great question.
I threw like 4
No,
questions
and I'm going
at
to
you. I
try to
do that
answer
to
them
every
all.
guest.
So, trauma, not necessarily. I think that I'm an external processor. So, leaving corporate America was more of like just a weight lifted. It was like, woo, I could breathe. Like, and it's
Mm,
not necessarily Kiewit particularly, it's just corporate America in general, right? And what it has
right.
become. And I always tell people that employers are not as the loyalty on both sides of the fence is not what it used to be.
Mm,
Employers cannot expect employees to be loyal to them when you will replace someone in a heartbeat. Like back in the day, employers, if somebody got sick, they would pay somebody's rent, they would give food, they would give they would actually help people. And so people were more likely to stay till they retired or whatever. But at the same time, when you are not, you want people to come on and show up to work, but you're not really feeding them, you're not really teaching them new things unless they're your, golden child or unless they're performing at a top rate. People get stagnant, so they leave because they get bored or they want more money because life is expensive, right? You can't be mad about people wanting more money if they can't afford to live. So for me, it's not necessarily trauma that was shed. It's more of it was a weight lifted. For me, it was the overthinking of I don't ever do anything risky. This is real risky. Oh my God. Like this is anti anything I would ever do. Right. And so that
no
was,
stability, no footing.
I was
Yeah.
just
No
out here
guarantees.
like,
No
okay, girl,
401k.
there's no do over. There's no going back. Like.
Right.
Now, I will say the positive part of that being later in my career is that I do have some of that saved up, right? I do have, I worked for the city of Overland Park, so I will be getting, I will get a retirement from Capers. I will get part of a pension from them when I retire, right? So there are things that I have in motion, right? I had investments already put in place because I'm later in my career. I don't know that I had the entrepreneurial spirit at the beginning of my career, right? I think right now it's because I've had so many great experiences and I've worked so many diverse places, which I'm thankful for, that I've seen a lot and done a lot. So there's not a lot that scares me, if that makes sense. I'm kind of like,
Love
I'll
that.
figure it out. It's fine. And so for me, I try to be humble because I'm the person that I think that you can learn something from everyone that you come in contact with. I don't care what it is, big or small. I don't care who you are, what life you lived. There is something that when we interact, I will more than likely take something away. And it may not be in what I call academic learning. It may be a life skill. It may be a perspective that I heard. And I'm like, I love that. I'm taking that with me, right? And vice versa. If you take something, you can have it. Go for it. Use it in your life. Love it. But I have been blessed that when I left Kiewit, I gave my 2 weeks. They paid me out for my second week, but I was done after my first week. So I was like, cool, I'm getting a paycheck, so say
Right.
less. So I turned around and went to a conference, an entrepreneurial conference that was at the Fed. I was like, if I'm getting paid, I might as well go learn something. And
I
so
love it.
I'm a continuous learner. I love that. And when the Clifton, like the Gallup, the top strength finders, learner is my top strength. I will forever, if there's something,
Mine too.
yeah, if I can learn
Mine
something,
too.
I'm here for it. Right.
And I noticed that continuous improvement seems to be one of your core tenets. That's one of I call it immutable laws. So anyway, sorry, I just wanted to pause there to honor you, our
Thank you.
learner, and our learners. It's such a big deal. So yeah, you can take away. You went to this
Yes, I
conference.
went to the conference and it's just about the importance. The same best friend that yelled at me, that pointed, is always the person that when I go, oh yeah, I do HR consulting, she's like, no, she owns her own HR consultant business. She's amazing. You should hire her. And so I always say that you need to have a friend like my friend Erica, because she will never, ever let me small change myself. She was speaking because her and I were having the conversation, because again, she's 6 months ahead of me in the entrepreneurial journey. And so she was like, do it. I love it. Don't regret it. You'll love it too. I was like, okay. And so she has spoken my name in rooms and gotten me opportunities. And I feel like that is what we as fellow entrepreneurs have to do for small businesses, right? Each other as an ecosystem. It is one of those, that's how I found Porterhouse KC. I saw it on Instagram, and then her husband, Casey Murph, was a recent graduate. So I immediately said, I love learning, but I don't want to waste their time. I don't want them to waste mine. Is this just business 101? Because I have an MBA. I don't need that in my life. I've been to school. I paid enough money for it. I don't need to get that point times two. He was like, no, he's like, some of the stuff you might know, but he goes, I think you're going to get a lot out of it. And I'm so happy that he told me that. And I did. There were things that just the meeting of the different minds in that room, nuggets taken away. They go, Alicia, you always have an answer to our problems. And I said, well, because that's what HR does. We literally solve problems, but you've helped me think through things in a different limelight. So thank you. Like, I didn't have that perspective before. So for me, it's just been marketability, because again, as we were talking about offline, people have certain notions about HR. They don't trust us. And I understand it, because a lot of companies weaponize HR. Yep. We are the enforcer. We are not meant to help you. So we're the principal's office. And that's not what we like to be. Trust us, we don't like it. We don't want to talk to you when you're in trouble, because it's not comfortable for us either. We don't want to terminate people. We don't like it. Like, we don't like it either.
We didn't sign up to be correctional officers, right? Like, and that's, I mean, real quick to go to Porterhouse KC, because that's how I discovered you, because
they're amazing.
I saw they're amazing. I love them. I have been following them. We've had Sharon on the show. Black Drip sponsored this show's last season. Like, I absolutely love what they're doing. And we interviewed Will Fondren, who was from the cohort before yours. And so I feel like that entrepreneurial incubator sort of approach that they have and what they've done for you all is just incredible. And I can just by talking to you for these, 30 minutes that we've had so far, I can just see how invaluable your presence is in a room for other people and entrepreneurs. And I'm sure there's this sort of iron sharpening iron effect that appears as an outside observer, what happens with these cohorts. It's incredible. And so, as you talked about like the perception of HR, I'd love to talk about that. And then I also want to talk about how you help job seekers. I want to talk about what's going on in the job market too. So, it's insane, right? It's never seen anything like it.
And I hate it. I hate it. That's why I tell people I hate it.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we'll start here and we'll go. What was the other question? What else am I supposed to
talk about? It was just about HR and just maybe we'll dispel some myths at the end of this conversation about HR. But the job market and what job seekers are going
for job seekers. And I have this, and I'll give a quick plug for Porterhouse, because they helped me kind of understand who my target audience was. I came in saying I'm helping job seekers and businesses, which I still help job seekers. It's not that I don't. But they were like, that's not going to be your bread and butter. And as a business owner, you have to understand who your target customer is, right? And so for job seekers, I offer a full interview prep, career coaching, LinkedIn profile updates, resume, cover letter revisions or creation, because I think it's important. Of my almost 20 years, 18 of that, I was in some sort of recruitment realm. So it was usually my main function. And then because I am who I am, I would always be like, but I also want to go do all those things over there. So can I be on this team? Like, can I just be on these projects? Like, I'm curious. And so I've always had recruitment as part of somewhere in my job description. I've been to career fairs. I've been the people when I worked at the city of Overland Park. I was in charge of there at one point in time, I think I recruited for every single department in that, not at one time, but before I left. My biggest ones were the firefighters. So shout out to OPFD, special part of my heart, as well as Parks and Recreation. So of all the people, I hired as young as 14, right? And as old as like 85, because we had retirees. So I tell people and that gives another snippet of who I am. I worked for the city of Overland Park for a long time. I lived in the community when I worked there. So I loved the fact that I was hiring people to make my community better. I loved the fact that I would be like at local Hy-Vee and I would see the new firefighter come in and they were like shopping for shift dinner and they're like, hey, Alicia. I'm like, hey, how's training going? Academy, you're still here. Praise the Lord. All right.
Beautiful.
Or I would go to our area attractions and I would see the 14-year-old that had their first job this summer. My kid just turned 14 and is about to start her first job, right? So for me, it was the notion of you get to see that full circle. I also got to see people that I hired at the beginning of my career promote up through the ranks. And now some of them are senior management at the city. Like, to me, that's what warms my heart, because believe it or not, we don't want to be the principal's office. We want to see you succeed. We love seeing you develop and promote through. For job seekers, because I've recruited across so many different positions, I have a little knowledge about a whole lot of jobs, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And because
Like the Platte River, it's an inch deep
yeah,
and a
yeah.
mile wide kind of
And
thing.
because I was used to, I tell people like my day would be, okay, you're going to go to the fire department in the morning and hire them. And then you're going to go to Parks and Rec because you got to hire a forester or somebody for the forestry crew. And then you're going to go to hire an engineer at the end of the day. Like, I was used to walking in and out of processes and changing that mind scope because they all need different, similar soft skills, but different hard skills. And so for me, I really look at the combination of both. Hard skills can be taught. Soft skills are how we're wired and they cannot. And that is what employers really look for. And honestly, employers really need to focus on the soft skills because the soft skills are typically what cause your employee issues and are typically the reason why you have employee relations situations. If we look at the root cause, it's usually not because so-and-so can't do their job. I mean, it can be. But usually if they're not doing, and I'm not going to say people aren't out here cutting up. So I will say, let's not talk about the small percentage of people that are out here cutting up. We're not going to talk about them. We're talking about the other folks because there are people cutting up. So we won't talk about them. But we're talking about the people that, one, maybe they learn differently and you're not providing enough resources. Two, maybe they've told you, I want to go learn this, but you refuse to put them in your succession planning. Refuse. You refuse to let them explore the things that they're interested in, but then get mad when they go apply to a different part of the company because you don't want to take care of the manager that's making everybody's life miserable. You don't want to discipline them, but you can't figure out why employees keep leaving. And that's not usually HR because HR's hands are tied. We typically have to report to someone else. We typically can look at the issue and say, okay, yeah, that's messed up. We need to do this. And then someone at the top of the company or above us gets to make the decision on whether that's enforced. And please know that
we are advisors.
Yes. And please know that a lot of times we're like, you need to take this person, you need to hold their feet to the fire. And the company's like, nope, we like them. And so then we have to look at y'all as the employees and go, sorry, guys. But because no action is done, we're the bad guy. When in actuality, we went to bat. We just lost.
Very well said. Just the insight that you provide is, it hits home for me, right? And as your host right now, I'm just thinking about this is really, it's a widespread thing with organizations. And we know, right? Like, how many times have you seen, Alicia, the person who gets the management job was really good at the job as an individual contributor, and then they got promoted. They did not have the leadership experience. They don't even have the people skills. And that's why a lot of companies, especially the bigger ones, they create like a technical senior leader for the people who want to just stay good and get paid more. And then they create the leadership path. But the leadership thing is, everything literally comes down to leadership. Like in a succession plan, that is being built based on trusting the fact that the right leaders are going to be in the next position and the right mentees are going to be the next. You know what I'm saying? So it is all leadership, all of it.
Yeah. And it's so important that you have a clear understanding of your people. Right. So for me, I've always said I could go do this. I've been in both roles. I've been the super technical lead and was fine. But I love leading. That's one thing I took away from Kiewit. I led a team unofficially. It's funny. At the city, I had the title, but not the actual authority, but everybody still came to me. So I was like, I still did it anyway. But at Kiewit, I had a team of 5. I saw each of my folks twice in my little over a year and some change of being there because they weren't in the same place as me. But I talked to them every day and I let them know that if you like, I'm here for you. I will go to bat for you. I want you to be as successful as we can. If you're having a hard time, you can call me. Like, just people think leaders are giving people all the resources. And it is to an extent, but it's really being a safe space for your employees, right? Good, bad, or otherwise. Because the world is hard. And you can say, oh, leave your stuff at the door, but sometimes we can't. You don't. So why do you expect your employees to? And furthermore, our job as leaders is to cheer them on and brag on them when they do things right and shield them, hold them accountable, but stand in the gap when things go wrong. You are supposed to be hitting that blowback. You are not supposed to just step aside and let it railroad your employees. And I think a lot of managers, and not everybody, because I've had some great managers and I know some great managers, but when it comes to lacking that people skill, then it causes an issue because the true relationship between manager and employee can't be built. And that's why people leave. People leave managers. They don't leave companies. They leave managers.
Absolutely. For people that don't see themselves as leaders and want to do something about, leading themselves or being a leader in their role, where should people start? If they're trying to develop their leadership skills, where would you, like, if you had somebody who came to you, maybe they're a job seeker and you're trying to pull out, like, hey, it looks like you got some project management and some, people organization skills, and you're trying to pull that stuff out. Where should people start if they're trying to develop themselves as a leader?
So I would say, you can always volunteer. You can sit on a board. You can volunteer with an organization. You can, because in a lot of places, well, at least for me, when I did interviewing, like if somebody was an officer for a volunteer organization, that means you did it on your free time. You were passionate about it, right? And those are opportunities that you sought out, because companies may not always give you the opportunity. But also there's the notion of, if there's an opportunity at work, take it, take it for the visibility. And it's just depending on what you're comfortable with. But the reason I say volunteering, because you usually can get in a vein that you're passionate about, that you're comfortable with. It's a little less stressful, if you will. And most organizations need the help. And so find one thing that you're really good at. If you're like I'm in a sorority, I'm an AK, and so I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. I've been an AK it'll be 20 years in November. And so for me, it's serve on a committee, be a chairperson, chair an event, or be a chairman. Sorry, as our protocol chairman that just went, chairperson is not correct. Chairman, I went, be a chairman. But also be a chairman of an event. It doesn't have to be a whole committee, but find something that you love and then find leadership in that. But I'm also a big believer that you can be an indirect leader. You don't have to be in a leadership role to be a leader. I've always been a person that wants people to be successful and be at their best. So even when I wasn't in leadership roles, people still came to me to ask for help.
Absolutely.
I have a high standard. Achiever is my next strength. It's my second. Okay, so that's real weird. I love to learn, but I also just have to high achieve. I have to.
Absolutely.
But I say that to say, I'm going to ask the questions, and I don't have a problem asking a question. If I need to know it, I need to know it, and I will ask until I understand it. And people that know me, well, here she goes. Here she goes with her questions. It's never just one. It's usually 4 or 5.
Yeah,
but I
5
also,
whys. That's how you get to root cause, right?
Right. And I'm typically not going to ask you the same question again, right? Because I'm asking to seek to understand. But I would say learn as much as possible, read as much as possible. There's a lot of great leadership books that you can read to understand skills that you can implement. Look for indirect opportunities, but then also, just as I said, out in your community, because you never know how the world is connected. So you may go volunteer at this organization and come to find out they best buds with somebody in HR or leadership in the company. And now they're like, oh yeah, we know so-and-so, they're our treasurer. And they're like, what? Oh, okay. That's wonderful. And so you never know. The world is very small, especially in Kansas City. It's the biggest small town you're ever going to come to. There is no 6 degrees. I think it's maybe 3 if you're brand new here. And I would argue it's 1 or 2 if you've spent any real time. So you can lean into that and make it for the best, but also be mindful if you out here causing a ruckus, it's also going to work in your detriment because, people talk.
Absolutely. So you are a very motivating person. I'm going to get off this episode and I'm going to want to run through brick walls today.
Aw.
because you're so motivating, and you just a lot of your experience, I can tell you speak from a very deep place. I'm always curious to know, aside from Erica, who motivates you? So Erica sounds like a force to be reckoned with in your life, and God bless her.
She is a
I'll
force to be reckoned with.
I'll have to
If you
I'll
ever
have to
have
talk
her
to
on
her about
this.
her business. I was gonna say
Oh,
she sounds like somebody I need to talk
yes,
to,
she's a force
but
to be reckoned with.
but yeah, how do you stay motivated? Who motivates you, and what resources have you found to be helpful for you when maybe you're not having your best day? You know?
So I will say it's a plethora of things. It is my fiance who is the introvert to my extrovert. He is the calm to my storm. I always tell people I'm like a duck. I look very calm on the surface, but these little legs underneath the water, they are kicking. I'm telling you, they are kicking. Okay. And so sometimes he'll be like,
I
just
love
breathe,
that.
calm down. Because on the inside, I have all the thoughts, all the things as a typical mom, soon to be wife, like just in
Mm,
everything.
yeah.
So him, my mom, my parents, my sister. I am an extrovert in a family full of introverts. So I'm very people aware because I had to be growing up in a house where I was the loud person. I was the person that got on their nerves. So I try to be very self-aware, not necessarily dimming my light, because I do think that that is something that we tell extroverts to be quiet a lot and we don't tell introverts to dial up. So I often say that. Like, we have to meet in the middle. I can't dial all the way down. I can't. It's at some point it's just going to explode and you're going to get full on extroversion if I have to dial all the way down. But I have a good group of girlfriends that I've been friends with. My daughter's 14, so some of them as long as 25. So there's a trio to there's another person to me and Erica's relationship, and she's an introvert, and she will calmly say, "Have you thought about," like, she's real, she kind of comes in, not as hot. Hey, 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 just wanted to make sure. And so I have really good people in my life that understand me, right? That they check
Absolutely.
on their strong friend. They make sure that I would say I'm the
Mm,
strong friend, and they make sure that I'm good. And I check on a lot of people, but they also check on me. And for me, that is, and they validate it. If I'm like, you know what, today I'm pissed off, they're like, it's okay. You have a right to be that way. Like, it's cool. Lean into
right.
that. Or maybe don't. Maybe lay on your couch. Tomorrow will be a better day. You can do that as an entrepreneur. But then tomorrow you got to work twice as hard because you didn't make no money today. So they keep it real with me. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for me, I don't have any yes people. I don't have any fake people in my circle. At this point in my life, the people that are my good friends, I consider family. I would say most of them I've known, my daughter's 14. So I've known at least 12 years or greater.
Wow.
And we've been through life with each other. So for me, it's just surrounding yourself with great people that are going to tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. And
Right.
that's because that's how I am as a person. I'm going to say, this might be a difficult conversation, but I need you to hear me. And I say it with love. Because if I
Absolutely.
don't, even as your HR person, if I don't, I'm allowing you to walk into the world blindly and possibly into detriment. And that's not okay. That's not good. So I treat others
Absolutely.
how I want to be treated. And I have friends that do the same.
I love that. One thing I want to make sure that we definitely cover, because I know that HR or human resources can feel very overwhelming for the small business owner, right? You have talked about how you make it simple. What are ways that you've made it simple for your clients? And if you were, pitching to somebody that you started to build a relationship, a small business owner, what is something that you would say to them about how you can actually make HR simple for them?
Yeah, so it's a couple of things. One, I come in and I really get to know what you've done thus far. And I probably will congratulate you, because you did it by yourself. Like, it's not easy. And so I will I call it an assessment. So I kind of go through a checklist, figuring out where you are. It's like a diagnostic test for anybody that has, your car, how they go through and try to figure out any problems. I'm not necessarily looking for just problems. I'm looking for what you're doing well too, right? So what's good that I don't really have to worry about, maybe a maintenance plan for that, but then, like, where are the gaps? And from there, I build what we call a roadmap. So this is how we're going to fix it. And this is the order and priority. Usually I do that either based on, if you need people, then hiring's probably a priority. But oftentimes it's what's going to save you money. If you have any compliance issues that could get you sued or get you fined, we're going to get those, because nobody wants to lose money. Okay. I need you to keep all your coins. That's important. And then I look at it for, how can we streamline it? How can we make it easier? Maybe it's documenting your processes. So I may follow your people around for a little bit and figure out what they're doing. Right. And then I also say, okay, you're going to bring on new people. So do the check. Do we have job descriptions? Do you know your budget for this person? Do you know, like, I'm going to go through all of the questions. So it kind of depends on where they are. I kind of put people into 4 categories. So you have your solopreneur that's kicking things off. You have your person that may have, like, I'm going to say 1 to 5 employees. So they're, they're like their HR, they probably have some essentials for HR, but not all of it. Then you have your person that's like in the growth stage. So they're pretty, growing pretty rapidly. And they're like, oh God, I gotta put this together. Right. And then you have your person that's full, like established. They've been doing this thing for a while. And somehow by the grace of the Lord, they have not gotten sued because they don't have any HR. So I'm like, you were lucky. You should go play the lotto because I don't know how you made it. And so I package my offerings to those 4 phases. And then I have a la carte services so people can add on as they need it. Nobody is the same. I don't treat anybody cookie cutter. Although the same laws govern us, how you implement those will look different. So, and I don't believe in cookie cutter. It doesn't work. Every business is different and we all have different needs. But the biggest thing is I come in and help you be proactive instead of reactive. If you're getting sued, you just got to let that ride. I can help you build going forward, but I can't save you from that. It already happened.
Right.
Now I can look and see why it might have happened and kind of tell you root cause, but I can't save you from that. But my job is my success is when you see me and you go, Alicia made our lives easier. As a business owner, I've done my job. And as a business owner to you, I'm helping you thrive. Your people are staying. Your processes are more automated so you can do more in less time. You're not, you have everything written down. So if something happens, because life's, you're not out of luck.
Life.
Because it does. Life, especially for business owners, life's, okay? And it's just making it simple by taking it to digestible pieces. And for me, I try to think of when I'm not talking about big hunks, I'm talking about pieces so that you as the owner goes, okay, that makes sense. I don't use big HR jargon. I don't believe in doing it. I need everyone to understand. Most things that I do are between a 9th and 12th grade comprehension level because I don't know who we're coming in contact with and I want them to understand it. When I write my handbooks, I do not write them for me to read or for a law department to read. And that's why people go, what? And I go, how do you think most employee relation incidents happen? Because people sign off because they have to sign off on this employee handbook saying they received it. They don't understand what they read. They read it, but they don't understand it. It's not written for them. It's written for myself. It's written for law. It's written for everybody else. If you just made it plain, better
It's called
chance.
the employee
Hello?
handbook, not the employer handbook.
And if I hand it to a manager and they're like, and they can't even explain it to me, what makes me think that the employee is going to be able to know what they're supposed to do or not do? It should set your expectation. Right. So everything I do is like building blocks because I'm also a big believer in accountability. Right. So once we give it to you and once you know the expectations, it's like, okay, like we can have this conversation and we can address it. But what you can't tell me is that you didn't know. Nope, you knew. So let's have a conversation about, do you not have the proper resources? Is there additional training that needs to happen? And sometimes it's tough love. Sometimes it is giving that disciplinary action. And I don't necessarily like it, but it's like parenting. I don't like disciplining my kids, but if that's what they need to happen, if you got to be grounded because you didn't follow a rule, then that is what it is. Like, it's life.
Absolutely. So I want to make sure that I give you an opportunity to cover anything that we didn't get over and in this conversation. And again, too, I would absolutely love to have you on the show again.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think there is so much that we can unpack in the future. I also noticed LinkedIn appears to be where you're most active. Correct?
I try to do, Instagram is hard. HR is not
sexy.
It is
because it's a picture. Yeah, it's a picture app,
well,
right?
And HR is not sexy.
We're going to get your reels out there and we're going to get you some reels on your Instagram with this episode.
I'll be trying and I'm like,
I know.
And you talked about marketing overwhelm. It's the marketing for me. I'm great person to person, but that whole like content creation, I try. It's so
well. I think we're going to get a lot of good content out of this conversation.
Awesome. I would love it.
I notice it's going to be amazing. And like I said, we haven't covered this ground on the show before, but if you could just kind of tell folks, Well, let's save that for the end. I want to shine a light on, because you're involved in a new series that you're doing, an informational series.
Yes.
There's ways for people to learn about you. Maybe you can kind of, so two questions, sorry.
Okay.
I'm so
I
excited
also get
that I
multiple
like,
questions at once, so this doesn't bother me.
thank you. It's so good to be seen,
Yes.
like literally. So what did we not cover that you want to kind of make sure you leave our audience and folks that you bring along to watch this as well? What do you want people to know about you?
At my heart, I mean, I think I've said it, but at my heart, I really just want people to thrive. So, like, if you want a quote unquote HR lady, or if you're not sure that you need HR, reach out to me. I would argue that you probably do. You just haven't thought about the ways that it can be helpful. I look at how to positively implement HR into your business. It is not about me being the enforcer. I have no problem doing that, but it's not the sole point of my job. My job is to really intertwine your HR strategy and your business strategy, because most people run them separate, and that's when they get in trouble. And so it is that piece. That's the biggest thing because people are like, what do you do? And I'm like, I help businesses interweave, either build their HR strategy if they don't have one, or interweave it into their business strategy. And it's no fault to their own. They didn't think about it. Like, again, we're not taught that. People are taught, oh, just people. You just hire the right people. But HR is so much more than just hiring and firing and paying your people. So I think for me, it's just, I started my company with the notion of that it would never be just me. And that's something else I'll talk about. I started my company with the notion of, one, creating a safe space for women of color, because as one, HR is not always the best place. We're really good at it, but sometimes we're too much, right? We care too much, or we're seen as too cold, or whatever that may be. And so that was one space. Number two, I started it because I found my HR journey through my very first internship right after high school. I know I'm a nerd who graduates high school and then has an HR internship. You can reserve your judgment. But that's how I found it and fell in love with it, because I realized that my process brain and my love for people like intersected. And so I then went and got my degree in HR. At the time, it was a business degree because I'm old enough that they didn't exist undergrad wise, but my master's is in HR. And then I also started my company with in mind is that once I scale to be large enough, I plan to offer contract roles for people that are looking to get into HR, because you can't get into it until you have applicable experience. And I think that's crazy. If you can't get the experience, how are you supposed to get the experience? So
Absolutely.
For me, it's not only a place for like senior HR people like myself that can do what I do, but it's also a safe space to grow. And I plan to have a full gambit. So like the whole job seeker side of the house for career advancement, the whole workshop and facilitation, and then the whole business client fractional HR. My goal is to be a major HR firm competing in Kansas City. This is never a small thought. It was never just me.
I love it.
And I had another question. I don't think I answered your other question.
No, we'll get there for sure.
Okay.
And we also know too, Erica wouldn't allow you to think
She
small.
wouldn't. And she's going to see this and laugh. Be like, if you don't keep my name out your mouth. And I'm like,
God bless Erica.
I always tell people, like, I am blessed to have friends that, and not just she's extroverted like me, but I am blessed to have friends that we show up for each other. Like when I did my Porterhouse
Absolutely.
KC pitch, they went, that's your section back there. I was like, that's my whole section. That's my village back there cheering for me. They don't care what kind of room it is. You're supposed to be quiet, not us, our friends on stage. We're cheering. For me, this wasn't a hard, outside of getting out of my own way, I felt supported from day one because I knew people in my community. And when I said, I have my own company now, people were like, what? Let me get help. Wait a minute, I need HR help. How can we, and vice versa. I make a point to partner with people in my community. So it's not just me wanting or needing clients. It's I look for ways that I can partner. I'm the COO of a nonprofit in my spare time. It's fine.
I love it.
That's a youth organization.
Spare.
Yeah, it's just, doing a lot. And then planning a wedding. And then my fiance is building his, he's a chef. So catering, fine dining, private dining, all of those. So his business manager, and we have 2 teenagers. So in a regular life, this is what I'm built to do. And I love it.
I so love it. Well, hey, my final question that you had answered a little bit of it, but you can sign us off with it is what can people look out for coming out from you, because you're starting to do more education on your services and not just what you can do, but why HR is important and why people need to have these conversations much sooner likely than they think. But if you could just sign us off with how people can connect with you,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
Yeah, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Alicia McDougal, just like my name is spelled. I think I'm the only person. If not, it's MBA and PHR. You can put that behind it. You'll find me and you'll see my lovely headshot. And then also on Instagram, although I'm working on that, it's hard when as a business owner, it's like the lack of time. But that is LIHR Solutions, LLC, all one word. And I have started an Ask HR series. So I will be rolling out kind of FAQs, things, and I'm open to other things. So if you want to submit a topic, feel free. I just kind of made off the top of my head things that I get asked. So, but it really wanted it to be providing just information, not super long in depth, but just a picture, the question, the answer. And then on some of these, I may come in with a video behind it and kind of talk a little bit more about it, or have later on in the week some additional thoughts and tidbits. But it's just people have a very fixed, they either know nothing about HR or they have a very fixed mindset of what HR is. And it's usually based on who they've experienced. And so a lot of small businesses think, oh, I can hire myself, but they don't think about, are your processes documented? What are you going to do when you need to onboard them? How are you training your people? When an employee situation happens and you need a non-biased third party, who is that? Right? Like,
Absolutely.
just things that help your business run smoother. And that is what I'm here for. Again, whether you are a solopreneur or you have a couple of employees or you're growing too fast and you're like, help, or you're all the way established, I have what we call retainer packages. So it's a built amount per month that you're paying. And I did that because as a small business owner myself, I don't have time for a sliding scale. 1 month is this, the next month is that. No, I have a budget and I need to be able to plug that in my budget. A lot of things that people don't think about, they write HR services into their grant applications because a lot of times that we are grant funded. And so quite a few of my clients have said, I'm not ready yet. I'm about to go apply. And when they got the grant, they came back and that's how they put me in their services. So absolutely, you can find more information on my website, LIHRsolution, singular.com. It's in the rebuild mode, so it doesn't have all my services and products there yet, but it will by July.
Sounds great. We'll make sure that we get all those links in the LinkedIn posts. We'll get them in the YouTube, Spotify, Apple. We'll make sure people can just go in those notes. So if you're listening and you heard all that, but you couldn't write it down, folks, make sure that you go and tap in with what Alicia is doing. Alicia, it has been such an honor talking to you. Literally made my day. Like, just
it's very seldom that I meet people that also love HR. So I feel like now we're besties.
Yeah, we definitely are going to have to talk again, and maybe there's ways we can collaborate.
Of course.
All right. Thank you again. And everybody, thank you so much for tapping in with this episode. Again, keep a pulse on season 6 because we are going to continue to have more amazing people just like Alicia on this show. We appreciate you all.